What's going on, guys? This is KNasty3090 here. Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be looking at some new news that came out for franchise mode in MLB 19. So I'm going to go over it. There's an article on Operation Sports website. I'll have a link to that in the description below. So if you want to read this whole article, you're more than welcome to. I'm just going to go over some points that I personally care a lot about. I feel like you guys will care about being franchise or even like sim franchise players. Now, before I go any further in this video, I just want to give a quick little plug to my Twitter account for one reason. I'm doing a giveaway on it. If you guys don't have or don't know if you're going to be able to get MLB 19 to show, I'm giving it away on Twitter. Right here, if you go to my Twitter account, the link to that will be in the description of this video and every video I make. The pin tweet is this giveaway. All you have to do is be following me, retweet that tweet by March 21st. I'll give one person a digital copy, basically $60 of PSN credit. Now, if you already have the game, you already have it pre-ordered, you can take the $60 and do whatever you want with it. If you want to buy packs, if you want to buy a different game, you want to hang on to it for MLB 20, whatever you want to do, it's your money. But all you have to do to enter, like I said, follow me on Twitter and just retweet that tweet. You don't have to do anything else. So I just want to get that out there. Now, franchise mode. Nick Livingston, who's a really interesting guy, he's really funny. He does a lot of the streams and whatnot. They interviewed him. Joe Doyle, the writer of this article. Now, I don't know, did San Diego Studios go out and Nick Livingston go out to Operation Sports to do this interview, or was it the other way around? I don't know. But they're talking about MLB 19. There's some things I like and some things that are a little worrisome, but like I said, I'm going to get into it. This beginning part here is more about March to October. Now, if you guys don't know what March to October is, it's like a one season, it's kind of like season mode, but it's a little different where that you don't play every game, you only play certain games to kind of build momentum. And if you win it on a harder difficulty like Hall of Fame or Legend, you can get some really great Diamond Dynasty rewards. You can get like Diamond players for winning a World Series on a Legend difficulty. So that's pretty cool. I don't know how difficult it will be, but that's kind of that part there, which I'll give it a try. I'll definitely play it. I'm not sure if there'll be a lot of videos on it on my channel or if you guys will like it. Like I said, if you want to read that, you can. I'm going to get more to the stuff that I think we'll care about. Or at least people who are more sim-based. So here we go, Livingston. This is where you get some more interesting things. He said for most users, playing 162 games will take a long, long time. He's absolutely right. That's one reason why I do this sim, is because like you get the immersion of a franchise by doing it long term. It's like you're being a GM instead of being a manager. I feel like playing a game is like being a manager of a team. Being a GM is you sim it. That's kind of how my logic to it. So he had some interesting words here. So he said, quote, right here, I want to put the control totally in the player's hands where their player is going to decide the outcome of their season. So that's one little thing that I thought about. And I think that's probably more towards March to October, more than franchise mode, because I feel like one thing or like one play or something like that, I don't know. That was just interesting, but I think that's more towards March to October. Like I said, it's a different game mode. It's kind of intertwined with Diamond Dynasty. But he gets on a little bit more talking about this, and I've always had this notion. Now, he's saying it's not true. They may be accurate that it's not true. I mean, the logic behind people's reasoning of this quote or what he's saying is not true makes complete sense, and I don't necessarily fault them on it. But so Nick Livingston said, the misnomer being thrown around that San Diego Studios has shifted to a money-hungry focus, thus strictly feeding the Diamond Dynasty community, couldn't be further from the truth. So, his logic behind why it's not, I will give his logic to it, and then I'll give my rebuttal, is because they said they're focusing more on Road the Show. And off-line modes, like March to October is new, Road to the Show is new. Franchise has some changes we're going to get to, it's down at the bottom of this article, but like Road to the Show has been completely overhauled, which I love. I hated how they did it last year, where they had like the player caps. Like, it's an offline mode, you shouldn't be limited to what your creative person can be. Like, if it's like 2K where you play online with that person, I understand you limit it because then you're using it online. But if it's purely offline, it's kind of like if you play like Grand Theft Auto. If you play Grand Theft Auto online, I don't want you to use cheats. If you play Grand Theft Auto single player, go use cheats. That's like my logic. Like, do whatever you want single player. It only affects you however you want to play it. Great. So I like how they fixed Road the Show. But he's saying how like, oh, we don't only focus on Diamond Dynasty. But here's where I start to disagree with him. Once Road the Show franchise, March to October comes out in March 26th when the game comes out, will they have any patches for it or live content for it? Or will they notice, oh, wow, drafting is kind of like trade logic is broken with players who were just recently drafted. We should patch that. Will they do that? Highly unlikely. They didn't do this in 18. Are they going to change how drafted players are 25 years old? And they're going to take 5 years to reach the majors. Are they going to change that? And if that's a problem at the beginning of launch, because that's been like that for 3 years. Like, are those things going to be fixed? No, they're not. But in Diamond Dynasty, if there's an issue kind of something like in that line, that gets patched. So that's where my logic is like, okay, well, you focus more on Diamond Dynasty. You may focus on more about the offline modes while the game's being developed, but once the game has been released, you only solely focus on Diamond Dynasty. So, yes, I understand they do work on both, and they also work on Diamond Dynasty a lot during the off-season as well. For them, the off-season, like when they build the game. But once this game drops, they focus 90% of their remaining effort on Diamond Dynasty. Now, like I said, do I have a problem with them doing it? To an extent, yes, but I do understand it's a business and they make more money from it. And I feel like I feel like they get pushed more not from the devs who make the game, but by the company of like San Diego Studios and Sony. They probably want them to focus more on Diamond Dynasty because it makes the people in the suits make more money. So I obviously understand where people are coming from, and I don't necessarily hate the notion that they focus more on that, especially where I feel like in a couple years you won't be able to do microtransactions like you can now, so they're probably going to try to milk as much as they can. I always felt though like Diamond Dynasty was the least money hungry out of all the Ultimate Team modes. That's my personal opinion. But let's get back into franchise. That was just something he brought up in the article, and I want to give you my 2 cents on it. So here's him talking about the offline stuff. Turning into some data-driven machine, where this we're saying, so this little part here is talking about how Road to Show is the most played game mode in all of MLB 18. I've known that for a while. In prior years, that's kind of their thing. Road to Show actually is the most played. I understand it. Not everyone will have online. Not everyone wants to play online. A lot of people, like people my age, grew up not playing the game online. One, like PS1, PS2, you barely had internet in PS2. You didn't in PS1. And in PS3, MLB The Show, played PS3 games online, it was the worst. It was so laggy, so bad. I would just played on the couch with my friends or just played offline modes. That's why I love franchise so much. That's kind of what I did. I grew up playing MVP baseball. I never had online. So a lot of people my age, I feel like, don't play it online as much as like a younger demographic because we didn't grow up with it. Alright, so here's where they're talking about some new changes in franchise. Now, if you saw the stream last Thursday, they go over a couple of the things, but I do want to mention, just in case you didn't know or you don't follow me on Twitter, because I did talk about this. So they changed some things. First time ever, contracts for MLB players will now, for active MLB players, will now have accurate annual values, AAV, that's an awesome thing. Well, this is new in this article. Players in the majors who are current players have their actual contracts in it. Before, they would make up numbers. Like I remember, like Dustin Pedroia's contract was like $5 million a year. In real life, he's making over 20. I remember the same thing with Rick Porcello. So players like that, they're going to have their actual correct contract. They're going to be making $20 million, Bryce Harper's new contract will be into it. All that information's out there. If you go to Baseball Reference, all players' contracts are there. So it obviously is time consuming, but it's nice that they're doing it. It's great for franchise, I know. Because I know what a lot of players make, just from like looking it up or whatnot, or just I have a rough idea. So now I know going into every franchise we do, that guy makes a lot of money, get rid of him, add him, or whatever. I know what their real life money is. So they also mentioned backloading and front-loading contracts. Now that was something that was brought up in MLB's, the show's stream last Thursday. So you can front and backload contracts. I love that. That is awesome. Because it's every franchise, you are in different stretches of your team's development. For instance, early on in the team's franchise, if I sign a big time free agent, let's just say I think I'm maybe a year or two from really competing and I have a lot of young, cheap talent, I'll front load a contract to a free agent. I'll pay him more now, knowing that in a year or 2 or 3 years from now, my young players are going to start becoming more expensive. They're going to need more money, but luckily my big time free agent, his contract will go down because it's it's front loaded contract. So a front loaded contract means they get more money up front. They're going to have a picture about it, I think, down here. Oh, maybe not. It's front loaded on the front. So, for instance, if you make $20 million for 5 years, year 1 will be 25. You'll make year 2 will be like 23. Year 3 will be like 20. Year 4 will be like 17, and year 5 will be 15. Add it all together, it's $100 million for 5 years. It's just broken up differently. You can front load it or back load it. So you can do those things, which is nice. You can do these contract extensions from July 15th through July 31st. the idea of that time is like right before the trade deadline. Let's say you have a guy, you want to keep him. Like, for instance, let's say in real life, the Cardinals have Paul Goldschmidt. Maybe at the end of July, they're like 10 games out of the playoffs. They're not going to probably make the playoffs. They go to Goldschmidt, do you want a contract extension? He says yes. Perfect, sign him. You don't have to trade him now. Excuse me, because you have him locked up. If you go to him and you can't reach agreement on a contract extension, you know you are going to lose him. Now you could get a draft pick for losing him, or you can trade him for prospects. So that's why they want to do that time in July, right before the trade deadline. You can also do it in spring training. A lot of players have that. In real life, that's a realistic thing. In spring training, players will be like, once regular season starts, I don't want to talk about my contract. That's an actual real thing. I think the timing for that's great. Now, I'm not sure if they said you can do it in the off season. I think they said you can't, which is kind of a shame, because I think you should be able to do contract extensions in the offseason. Now, it's only for players who have 1 year remaining on their contract. Now, if you're thinking about that at first, just think about this, because at first I thought that doesn't really count a lot of players, but it does. So like a player like Paul Goldschmidt, yeah, he's in the final year of his year, that counts. Any young player, like Mookie Betts, is in the final year of his contract, because every year he gets a new 1 year deal, basically, until he's up for free agency. Same for guys like Francisco Lindor, I don't think has locked up a long-term deal. Bogarts is a free agent. So like any young player, less than like 6 years of service time, is basically in a year-to-year deal. So at any time you can offer contract extensions on those guys. So moving on from that, so he said in one thing that I'm a little perplexed by, is that he wants to combine everything into one. Let's see if I can find the quote. So here's the quote. Anything a user experiences in game should supply crossover to other pieces of the package as a whole. So maybe he means like if you do something in franchise that affects your road to the show or affects Diamond Dynasty. I don't know. Does he mean by you win a World Series in franchise mode, you get a pack in Diamond Dynasty? I don't know. I really don't know what he means by that, or if there's something more in depth to it. Another thing he mentioned here, which doesn't give me a lot of hope for 19, but it gives me hope for 20, is that right here at the end, there is a long list of stuff we want to improve, but this year we were finally able to get over some hurdles to make contract improvements happen. So big thing in franchise was contract improvements. So maybe other small things that got changed, like small things that you could patch. Like I said, with like the draft picks, looks like they're not going to have international signing period, but I feel like the contracts was a time-consuming thing for them. Like I said, getting all the information for every single MLB active player and putting the contracts in. I feel like MLB 20, I feel like they will be able to do some more things, because this was one thing that took a lot of time, it sounds like, for them to do. So unfortunately for 19, there's not going to be a ton of changes. So I don't know. What do you guys think of this article? I kind of want to go over it and just let you guys know in case you haven't seen this. It's an interesting read. They talk about March to October. I mean, Nick Livingston's a great person to follow on Twitter, too. He's a senior developer at San Diego Studios. So I don't know. One thing I would just love them to do and focus on 19 is to have improvements throughout the year. That would be awesome. But hope you guys did enjoy the video. Please drop a like if you did. Subscribe if you're new, if you want more franchise videos. And excited for 19. It's about 2 weeks away. Crazy, isn't it? I'll see you guys then. Take it easy. Peace.